Good afternoon. Today we're going to put some of the front rails in here. We're going to create the sliders or the support system for the drawers, and we're going to include a bottom down here. There's two drawers. We'll start at the top with the rail that connects the two legs at the top, and then we'll provide the support system for the two drawers, and then we'll put the bottom in down here. Okay, so let's get at it. To make things easier, we'll take away the top trim, and the top trim filler. What we want to do here is we want to create a rail that ties these two legs together. And I'm going to start by creating a little rectangle here. Let me zoom in. There we go. Now that rectangle is going to be, we're going to give it thickness, and then it's going to be dovetailed into the leg. So let's draw the dovetails now too. The dovetails are going to be a 1/2 inch long. I'm just going to create some construction lines here. I'm going to have a 1/4 of an inch between, I'm going to have two dovetails with a 1/4 of an inch on the outside and a 1/4 of an inch in the center between the tails. So I'll just come in a 1/4 of an inch both ways here. And let's see, I'll come to the center. How best to do this? That's the center, 1 inch, and I want a 1/4 of an inch. So I'll say 1 1/8, or let me start off with 7/8, 1 inch minus 1/8. And I'll do the same thing and go 1 1/8. So what I've done here is there's a 1/2 pin here, a pin here, and a 1/2 pin here. So what I'm going to do now is take protractor tool, come out along this line, and come in 8 degrees. Same thing here, 8 degrees. You can begin to see what's happening here. That's one tail. And there's the other tail right there. So now I'll come in here and I'll draw these tails in. Start here. Go here. Here. And here. And I no longer need the angular lines, so I'll get rid of those. And I have to do the same thing down here. Eight degrees. Eight degrees. Come down here, click here first, and then come over 8 degrees. Same thing here. Click there, down here, over 8 degrees. Take my line tool. Start here, 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 there, and one more here. All right, now I can get rid of all my construction lines. And I'm going to get rid of this line here. Whoa, that was the wrong thing to do. Get rid of that line. Get rid of that line. That line. And that line. Now if I pull that down, pull it down 3/4 of an inch. And get rid of the legs for the moment. Notice I have two tails here. 3/4 of an inch thick rail, and that's the part I want. And so I'm going to make this a component, and I'll call it the top rail. Now it says that I've already got a component with that name. And so I want to say no here because I have to rename it. I shouldn't have a component with that name already, so I'll call it top front rail. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to put the sockets in the legs. So I'll bring the legs back and I'll edit them. Use the top front rail as the outline for what I want here. Take that down 3/4 of an inch. Three-quarters of an inch. Click outside the bounding box. And let me get rid of this by putting it on the rails layer. And getting rid of rails. All right, now notice I have my sockets here for the rails, for the top front rail. Okay, so that completes that part. Now I want to create a draw support system. And I'm going to go offline here for the moment and create or bring up a drawing to show you what it is we're after. And then I'll be right back. Here's a drawing of the completed draw supports. Also, it has the bottom down here. Let's take a look at this. What this is going to be, it's going to be two side support members and a front and back support member. They're going to be dadoed out so I can put a dust panel in there. And because I'm going to make them out of secondary lumber, I'll put a piece of trim along the front, cherry trim. And that's the part we're going to make. Notice there's a couple of important things here. If I look at this from the front and bring in my front view, well, I don't have it here. But you'll notice that the distance here and here is 4 3/8. Similarly, if I go here to here, it's 4 3/8. And that will be the draw opening. And the support systems are pretty simple. They're notched out here in the corner. And probably the most important thing is what the dimension is here. 3/4 of an inch there, and a 1/2 inch, I believe, back here. 5/8 in the back, 5/8. So let's draw that. Let me get back to our previous model. Okay, here we are back on our previous model. What I'm going to do here is look at this on the front view. And I'm going to bring in our 2D front view. Try to show all of this together. Let me create a few little goodies here. I'm going to put, this is the top of the leg. Notice that's where the top sits on. This is the bottom of the trim. And if we look here real close, notice that the draw front overlaps this piece right here, which is right at the bottom of the trim by 3/4 of an inch. And then from there, from here to here, the draw opening's 3/8 of an inch, or 4 3/8, I'm sorry. And likewise here. Four 3/8. That was the 4 3/8 I pointed out a little earlier. So what we're going to do is bring back in the rails. And what that means, we need another piece below this top rail here. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. The draw fronts, or actually the front of the draw support system is going to sit back in here. It's going to sit back in 1 inch. That's a 1/2 inch. We're going to create a line here that's 1 inch from the front. And I'm going to create a little draw stop right here. That's 3/4 by 3/4. I'll drag that over to here. I'm going to make that a component called filler strip. Now, 4 3/8 down from that bottom edge is where I want my next draw support system. I'll bring a line down here along the blue line, 4 3/8. And where that intersects, these two lines intersect, that's where my next draw support system will be. So what I'm going to do now is draw that little trim that was in the front of the draw support system, which is 1/4 of an inch thick by 3/4 of an inch wide. And I'm also going to extend that over to this point. And now if I swing around here, I'm going to call those banding, because they're just going to band the front of the draw support system. Okay, now for my second draw, it's going to come down 4 3/8 plus 3/4 of an inch, which is 3/4 of an inch is 6/8. So that's 9/8, 4 9/8. So I'll move this down 4 9/8. Now let's just check that, make sure we get the right. Four 3/8. So our opening now is 4 3/8. Let's check all of this now. In the front view, okay, let's see if we got this right. These are our draw openings. The draw fronts are going to overlap the draw support systems a little bit. That's what you see here. Here's the draw support system, and the front draws are overlapping a little bit. But we want to see if the draw support system is in the right place, and indeed they are. Okay? Now, we can get rid of all of this. Get rid of this. And let's go here. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to fill in with the supports themselves. All right, now I'm going to rough out with some construction lines the draw support system. First of all, there are some notches. I'm going to start here. Put a line there. I'm going to go over to the other side and do the same thing. And I'll look in the back. By the way, I can get rid of this front view here. Now let's look at the back. Let me put a line. Right there. And we'll use this line right here as the reference and bring it down right there. Now the question is where to start and stop these notches. In the back, I think we decided we wanted them to go 5/8 of an inch. Right there. And then the side, I think we're going to go a 1/2 inch on the side. And I'll tell you why in a moment. That's 5/8. I want to go offline and do a little calculating here, and I'll be right back. Yeah, I want to go a 1/2 inch this way, not 5/8. And I'll explain why in a moment. Now, if I look at this from the top view, get rid of the rails. I'm almost ready to trace my there we go. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to trace it. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trace around these things. I'm going to start here. Come here. Back here. And now the question is, how far out do I want to come? So let me just hit escape here for the moment. What I want is I want to know the width of this support member. It's going to be 2.5 inches, so I'm going to start here, come out along this line right here, 2.5 inches. And now I can go back and complete my tracing. And there we go. That's going to be the left support member. It's going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. It didn't work so well. Let me redo that. 0.75. And there's one member. I'm going to make it a component. Call it long draw support. And I'm going to bring it out a little bit. I'm going to copy it and bring it out here a little bit so I can work on it. And now I'm going to take this and copy it over to this side. So what I'll do is I will first of all use the control key with the move. Move it along the red axis. Flip it along red. And put it in place. Right there. Now I've got one on each side. Now what I can do is I can create a line from here back along the green. 2.5 inches. That'll be the width of the front one. My line is hidden a little bit. Right there. So what I want to do now is create a rectangle. It goes from here to here. Make that 3/4 of an inch thick. And I will now make that a component and call it the short draw support. I'm going to move that and copy it to the back using the control key. I'll move it along the green axis of waves, then flip it along green. You may not think I need to flip it along green right now because it has no, it's got no defining shape other than a rectangle. But you'll see in a moment why it makes it, when I make edits to this one, they'll come out correctly on this one. I'm gonna, whoops, wrong thing to pick up here. Put that in place right there. Let me zoom in, make sure I get it in the right place. There we go. All right. I'm also going to copy it up here. So I can work on it. All right, now I'm going to start editing this one. I'm going to use the offset tool. I'm going to create a tenon by bringing the offset tool in 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to bring this out 1 1/2. So that'll be a tenon that's 1 1/2 inches long. I'll do the same thing on the other end. .25, 1 1/2 inches. So now what I want to do is I want to give myself dado. Come down 1/4 of an inch for my dust panel. And move that in. to there, 1/4 of an inch. I can get rid of these lines. That's the dado. Now on the other side, I want a haunch because there's going to be a dado in the piece that goes over here. So I'm going to put a haunch on this, and the haunch will be 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. Start here, come out 1/4 of an inch both ways. Take that down. That far. A little cleanup, erase this line here. The line on the bottom. I don't know why these colors come out the way they did, but I'm going to reverse that. And reverse that. I'll get rid of this little line here. Now I've got to do the same thing on the other end. It's giving me a little trouble here. When you get in trouble like that, all you have to do is change your view a little bit, and that sometimes helps. Okay, let's just examine this. I think we've got it. And that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up here. That will let me edit this one. First thing I need to do I will put the go into edit component mode. And let me just do this. Come down 1/4. Come back 1/4, come down 1/4, back over 1/4. With a little luck, that went all the way through. And now I will go to this mode. X-ray mode. And it's going to be a little difficult to see. There we go. That's what I want. I'm going to use the rectangle tool. Start here. And in there. And now if I get rid of that and the X-ray tool, turn the X-ray tool back on, let's see what I've got. I'm going to hide rest of model now. That's not exactly what I wanted. So I will get rid of that and I'll bring in the model again. What I really wanted was this rectangle. And I can't see right. I want this one right here. Okay. I think there's an easier way to do this. Let's hide rest of model. What we really want I'm going to come in here 1/4 of an inch. I want to come in here over 2 inches. That's going to be the width. Oh, let's do that again. Let's come over 2 1/4 inches. What that'll do is give me a tenon that's 2 inches wide. And what I can do now is draw in my rectangle. I'll start here at that intersection. Go over to this intersection. And I got to push that tenon in. Remember, my tenons are 1.5 inches long, but I've already got 1/4 of an inch of it here. So I'm going to push it in 1 1/4 inches. I have to do the same thing down here. I outsmarted myself by putting this dado in first. I should have done that second, but we'll get over it. All right, so that's got to come back 1/4. Two and 1/4. Draw my rectangle. Push it in 1 1/4. And with a little luck, I now have it. Let's just see. And we'll use the X-ray view to see if that works. And it appears to. It appears as though we have what it is we wanted. Mortise and tenon joint. So let's look down here. I'm going to get rid of all of my those I can't get rid of until I go back into edit component mode. And I got to go back into edit component mode on that one too. There we go. All right, let's see what we've got here. I think we've got what we need. Sorry for taking the order wrong there. This would have been a lot easier had I not done this dado first and did the mortises first and then the dado. But I outsmarted myself. I no longer need these two pieces. Those were just to work on, but everything got reflected over here. Well, let's see. Did everything get reflected over there? What happened here? That looks like it needs to be flipped. What I'm going to do, actually, delete it. And bring this one up front with a flip. Flip it along green. Let's see if that did it. Yeah, that looks better. All right, for the moment, I'm going to clear all layers. See what we have here. This is interesting. Got a little problem here. That's on the leg. Let's get the legs back again. It appears as though I've got lines that are on some on layer 0 and some on some other layers. Let's just see. Do the triple click test. And I'm going to put all of this on layer 0. Now I should be able to get rid of all layers. Put this on the legs layer. And everything's all right again. And what do I have here? That's a leg. I don't know what happened there, but now I've got to correct it. Let's get rid of legs. Sometimes when you're drawing along, you get primitives on layers that are other than the layer you intended. Then you have to use the triple click test, which is triple click any component. It'll tell you what layers the primitives are on. So if I triple click this, notice it says all the primitives are on layer 0. If I triple click this, it says all the primitives are on layer 0. And that's what I want. Now I can get rid of this and this. I'm going to copy this, this, and this down to here. I'll use the Control key with the move. And with a little luck, I've just put that in the correct place. I have 2 copies for the draw. I'm going to put those on a layer called let's see. I'll put the short draw supports on a short draw support layer. So I'm going to add a layer. Called short draw support. And the short draw supports I'm going to put on the short draw support layer. That's wrong. Let's zoom in here. We'll put those on the short draw support layer. And now I'll create a layer called long draw support. And I'll put the long draw supports on that layer. I'm going to create a layer called banding. I'll put these on the banding layer. And this filler strip I'm going to put on the rails layer. So let's bring things back. Bring the banding back. Long draw supports. Short draw supports. Rails. Sides, top trim filler. All right, now our video is pretty long right now, so I'm going to stop for today. We're well over a half hour, and we'll finish we'll finish all the carcass stuff next week, and the following week we'll do the draws, and then we should be done. Okay, see you then.